Crime, as I said, is on the rise in Victoria, but it's gang violence involving children as young as 10 that's most concerning for Victoria Police. Data released by the Crime Statistics Agency this morning shows crime has increased by 6.1% across the state. It follows the release of a video showing a 15-year-old girl allegedly set upon by a gang of girls at Melbourne's Southern Cross station. That's in the central CBD. A warning, this footage is quite distressing. Now, I have to say, if positions were reversed and the colours were reversed, that might be everywhere on the news, but it hasn't been widely run. Herald Sun journalist Suzan Delibasic has been on the case of youth gangs in Melbourne for some time. She joins me now. Firstly, Suzanne, let's just talk about that imagery. As I said, for those who don't know Melbourne so well, that's the Southern Cross station. It's right in the middle of the city. It's populated by, families, mums, dads, business workers, etc. It's pretty horrific vision and it's violent. Now, it's alleged that the girl there being beaten up herself was part of a gang, or that certainly the girls beating her up themselves were a gang. What do we know?
Yeah, look, that's exactly what I've been told too, Peter. From what I've researched, particularly on this incident, it does look like it is gang violence. In recent months, female gang violence has escalated in southeast Melbourne particularly, so areas such as Cranbourne and Pakenham. And it's over really petty things too. So in this instance, for example, it was something to do, as I've been told, over someone's boyfriend. But it's just not acceptable. I mean, for onlookers, it was just so confronting. And it's just the brazen nature of this type of behaviour that just continues every week, if not day, in Melbourne.
Yeah, and it was a number of young girls beating up on another girl, and she didn't even try and defend herself. I suspect she probably thought that would be worse. We know on Tuesday a young 15-year-old boy was allegedly stabbed to death in Melbourne's southwest. It was in the western suburbs. Allegedly too, this is gang violence. Now, a lot of these gangs centre around ethnic groupings. What can you tell us?
Yes, that's correct. So we have the African youths who are part of gangs in the southeast of Melbourne, in the east and the west. And there's also the Islander gangs too. So they're another gang that's on the rise. There are some differences between both gangs. So the Islander youths, from what I've been told, I've actually spoken to the gang members. They are fighting to claim their territory, but with the Sudanese youths, they are not only fighting to claim their territory, they are also fighting to, show their notoriety. So that includes home invasions, theft of cars. They take photos on social media of, bragging and, just showing their blatant disregard for the law. There's one photo I just saw this afternoon of them hanging out of their car, of a stolen car, alleged stolen car, bragging. It was all smashed up. So that's just the brazen nature of these youths.
Just on that point, Suzanne, going back to the young girl on the train, do we know
Yes.
the ethnicity or the grouping of the gang that beat her up then? Because we know the reason why we have those images is that one of those gang members was filming it and posted it out there. Again, I think this is probably the notoriety point you're trying to make. Do we know the ethnicity of that gang?
Look, it appears that they, I have been told that some of them are African youths, that appears that is the case. Mm-hmm. Which is quite, obviously quite confronting. I have seen fights unfold in central Dandenong between, it's been between Islander youths and African youths, and that was only in March. So I actually did see that unfold, and that was girls involved too in that. It is something that's ongoing almost every day in, the southeast of Melbourne particularly. And, that is the real issue that's going on here.
Well, the Victorian Police Minister is a woman called Lisa Neville. She was out on this issue today and she had this to say.
Particularly for 10 to 15-year-olds. We need to make sure they're not able to kill each other, that they're at home and at school. So police will do their bit, the law and order, the arrest, holding them to account, but we all need to play a role.
Well, if I thought the imagery of girls beating up girls, or a girl, a defenceless girl there, was bad enough, but to hear the minister talk about kids as young as 10, how fair income is that?
It's true, absolutely. I've seen it with my own eyes. I've even done a series of stories and investigations on this issue. I saw a brawl unfold just in February where a youth spat on a police officer and he looked 10 years old. So it was, you know, they are really young and they have no shame and they're doing it because they want to follow, you know, the older ones too, and they really do want that notoriety.
Yeah, it's extraordinary. The police today in Victoria, they said that knife crime too is on the rise. Now, not so long ago, I was buying a kitchen knife in Canberra and there were a whole lot of young boys in there eyeing off the various kitchen knives, and I said to the woman who was selling me the knife, you know, what do you do about that? And she said, well, if they're over the age of 16, they're allowed to buy a knife. And I said, surely you wouldn't sell them a knife that's this big from a kitchen shop? And she said, no, but they'll just go down to a camping store or they'll buy it online. This is a real worry.
Definitely, and it's not only the retail stores, it's also the online stores. So that's something that I uncovered in my reporting, was that they were just freely buying them online from various standard shopping sites. They are so easy to get. We're talking machetes, different type of weapons. They also got these baton type of weapons too, which was used in a brawl last year at Melbourne Central Station in August. So they are very easy to obtain. I spoke to a mother from Melbourne Southeast too, who knew that her son had purchased, you know, off a particular site. So they are very easy to get.
I tell you what, it's terrifying. We might follow up on some of this, particularly the movement of knife crime amongst young gangs there with you, Suzan, and come back and talk about it later. But thank you very much for your insights tonight.